Good morning, dear students. Good morning, Manasvi, Sania, Ayush, Arpita, Nidhu, Ria, Akif. All of you, a very good morning. A very good morning to each one of you. So, kindly confirm me with the text. You are able to hear me or not. Yog, Manasvi, Ria, Akif, can any one of you text me whether you are able to hear me properly so that I can begin my lecture today? Are you able to hear me properly? Okay, thank you, Sania. Thank you. So, there's no sound in the background, I suppose. Is it okay? Or I should. Okay, thank you so much. So, let me begin. Can you see the font size? Can you see the font size? You see once, just check once if you can see the font size. If you do not see properly, I have to zoom it. Okay, thank you. Okay, so dear students, I will start from here. So, footprints you might have seen. You might have seen that Griffin is involved in violent activities, a spate of violent activities. Okay, he is doing something or the other which raises suspicion in the minds of the villagers, because at the moment he is at Iping village, okay, where he has taken an inn owned by Mr. and Mrs. Hall. So he is presently living in the inn owned by Mrs. And Mr. Hall. Okay, so let's find out what kind of violent activities he is now involved into. Okay, so let's find out. Okay, so we'll start from here. It seems okay. Actually, see, initially what happened, Mrs. Hall, sort of tolerated the behavior, okay, of the Griffin, because he has already given her some advance, okay, or paid her in advance the rent of the inn. Therefore, Mrs. Hall was trying to bear, okay, with him. Therefore, she did not initially, make a lot of protest. But let's find out what happens afterwards. See here, satisfied that her guest was an eccentric scientist, and in view of the fact that he had paid her in advance, Mrs. Hall was prepared to excuse his strange habits and irritable temper. But the stolen money did not last long, and presently Griffin had to admit that he had no more ready cash. Okay, stolen money, you might be remembering, he had stolen from London, okay, some money. So this money did not last long, and presently Griffin had no ready cash. So he pretended to Mrs. Hall that he was expecting a check to arrive at any moment. Okay, so let's find out what happens. Shortly afterwards, a curious episode occurred. Very early in the morning, a clergyman and his wife were awakened by noises in the study. Creeping downstairs, they heard the chink of money being taken from the clergyman's desk. So he indulged in robbery once again in the house of a clergyman. Okay, clergyman, dear students, is a male priest, a senior male priest of the church is called clergyman. So clergyman and his wife were awakened by the noises in the study. Creeping downstairs, what happened? They heard the chink of money being taken from the clergyman's desk, but they could not identify, or they could not see who the culprit was, who was taking their money away. Without making any noise, with a poker grasped firmly in his hand, the clergyman flung open the door. Poker refers to here a metal rod. Okay, surrender. Then to his amazement, he realized that the room appeared to be empty. He and his wife looked under the desk and behind the curtains, and even up the chimney. There wasn't a sign of anybody, yet the desk had been opened and the housekeeping money was missing. Extraordinary affair, the clergyman kept saying for the rest of the day. Extraordinary affair, because they could not find the thief who has taken or who has stolen their money. Therefore, it is something which is mysterious for them. Therefore, they said extraordinary affair. But it was not as extraordinary as the behavior of Mrs. Hall's furniture a little later that morning. In the same morning, what happened? Another incident took place in Mrs. Hall's residence, where Griffin was given a rent. Okay, where Griffin was staying. Okay, there something more, some more extraordinary thing happened. Okay, so what is this? Let us find out today. Okay, so okay, nice. Vinita, good morning. Be regular. Okay, you seem to be most regularly irregular in attending my class, so please be regular and punctual while coming online. Because if you do not attend the lecture, you might not be able to understand some of the concept or some of the sentences, phrases or words that might be there in the textbook. Okay, so please be regular. Sahil, good morning. Good morning. Okay, next. All of a sudden, Mrs. Hall heard a snip close to her ear. So, in the same morning when the robbery at the clergyman's house took place, in the same morning, after some time, what happened? Something mysterious happened in Mrs. Hall's house also. Okay, Hall's residence also. What is this mysterious incident all about? Let's find out. The landlord and his wife were up very early and were surprised to see the scientist door wide open. Okay, one day, normally what happens, the door of the scientist, that is door of the Griffin, was usually shut and locked. But on that morning, what happened, both Mrs. Hall and Mr. Hall were very much surprised to see the scientist's door wide open, and he was furious if anyone entered his room. Okay, and he was furious if anyone entered his room. Because what happens, normally Griffin did not allow anyone to enter his room. So if anyone entered his room, which he rented from Mrs. Hall, Griffin used to get very much angry. He used to get furious. Okay, because he demanded absolute privacy of his life. Okay, in absolute privacy, he did not allow anyone to enter his room. Therefore, usually his room was shut and locked, and he used to become very much furious if someone entered his room, because he demanded absolute solitude, absolute privacy from Mrs. Hall. They peered round the door, saw nobody, and decided to investigate. They became surprised because on that morning the door was wide open, so therefore they became curious to investigate why it is so. The bedclothes were cold. The bedclothes were cold, showing that the scientist must have been up for some time. And stranger still, the clothes and bandages that he always wore were lying about the room. So what they discovered after entering the room, they discovered that the bedclothes were cold, indicating that Griffin had got up quite early on that morning. Okay, got up quite early. Okay. And stranger still, the clothes and bandages that he always wore were lying about the room. Okay, the clothes and bandages that he used to normally wear were lying about the room. All of a sudden, Mrs. Hall heard a snip. Snip matlab a sound. Okay, close to her ear. Snip means normally the meaning of when the word snip is used as a verb, the meaning of which is drop air audibly through the nose to detect a smell, okay, or to express content or to stop it running. Okay, like sometimes we have running nose. Okay, we have running nose, so we sometimes have to stop the inflow of the thing or cold. Okay, therefore what happens, we need to snip sometimes. So here in the context of this lesson, it means there is a sound actually. Okay, sound audible, sound which is taken through the nose, so that sound is audible. All of a sudden Mrs. Hall heard a snip close to her ear. A moment later, the hat on the bedpost leapt up and dashed itself into her face. Okay, suddenly what happened? The one hat which was hanging on the bedpost, that leapt up, okay, and dashed itself into her face. Dashed means struck. Okay, that particular hat had struck her into her face, into the face of Mrs. Hall. Then the bedroom chair became alive. Even the bedroom chair started moving mysteriously, without the presence of anybody in the room. The bedroom chair was also flying. Springing into the air, it charged straight at her, legs foremost. Okay, so the springing into the air means hanging into the air, flying into the air. The chair hit her mostly on her legs. As she and her husband turned away in terror, the extraordinary chair pushed them both out of the room and then appeared to slam and lock the door after them. And then the chair, extraordinary chair, that was flying, that pushed them out of the room, both of them, Mrs. Hall and Mr. Hall. Mrs. Hall almost fell down the stairs in hysterics. Hysterics means excitement. Okay, excitement here out of fear. Mrs. Hall fell down the stairs in hysterics. The meaning of hysterics you can write down later on. A wildly emotional and exaggerated reaction is called hysterics. Okay, so here you can say out of fear she became excited. Mrs. Hall fell down the stairs in hysterics. She was convinced that the room was haunted by spirits and that the stranger had somehow caused these to enter into her furniture. Okay, so here, okay. So here you can see Mrs. Hall came to the conclusion that the invisible man was instrumental to bring the spirit, okay, even into the commodities of the room like chair, hat, etc. Understood? Because they were flying in the air in the room. Therefore, Mrs. Hall thought that the room was haunted by a spirit, and the scientist, that is Griffin, was instrumental in bringing the spirits into the furniture, into her furniture and other commodities like hat. My poor mother used to sit in that chair, she moaned. To think it should rise up against me now. Now she's surprised because this chair, which is flying in the air and which has dashed both of them out of the room, this chair belonged to her mom, and now she's surprised to think that, she's shocked to think that the same chair has risen or has come up in rebellion against her, okay, has gone on to strike her, okay, and turned her out of the room. The feeling among the neighbors was that the trouble was caused by witchcraft. Witchcraft, dear student, you must be knowing the black magic, the magical spell is called witchcraft. Okay, you might have seen witchcraft examples, instances of witchcraft in Harry Potter film. You might have seen Harry Potter film, where you can see the extensive use of witchcraft. Okay, so if you haven't seen, you can see the film Harry Potter. You will be able to see what is witchcraft all about. Okay, it's a magical spell. Okay, or black magic also you can say sometimes. Okay. Thank you students. Please stay connected. I am continuing. Okay, so the feeling among the neighbors was that the trouble was caused by witchcraft. But witchcraft or not, when news of the burglary at the clergyman's home became known, the strange scientist was strongly suspected of having had a hand in it. Okay, so they came to the conclusion that whether it is witchcraft or not, that we cannot say for sure. It appeared to be an act of witchcraft, but we are not sure. Whatever might be the cause of these mysterious incidents inside the room of Mrs. Hall, they came to the conclusion that the scientist or Griffin was behind this happening. Okay, behind this mysterious act. Okay, of furniture and hat springing into the air. Okay, flying into the air. Suspicion grew even stronger when he suddenly produced some ready cash, though he had admitted not long before that he had no money. Okay, so you might be recalling, like sometimes when I started the lecture, I said he promised to Mrs. Hall to pay her some more money once his check arrives. Okay, but suddenly now he's producing some ready cash, so which he has. Where do you think, dear students, he has got this ready cash from? A quick question: where do you think Griffin had got this ready cash from? Even though he admitted before that his check is likely to come very shortly. After that he will be able to pay Mrs. Hall some more money. But suddenly he is able to produce some ready cash. So where do you think he has gathered this ready cash from? What is your opinion? Please text me quickly. Where do you think Griffin had collected or gathered this ready cash from? Where is the source? Tell me, where is the source of ready cash which Griffin was showing now? No idea? You are not able to answer me, dear students. What do you guess? Where do you think is the ready cash coming from? Okay, so this is the question I'll ask you at the end of the lecture also. You please think out. The village constable was secret. Okay, witchcraft. Okay. Suspicion grew even stronger when he suddenly produced some ready cash, though he had admitted not long before that he had no money. My question to you is, where did Griffin collect or gather this ready cash from, even though he admitted a little while back that he was having no cash and he is waiting for his check to arrive? Okay, so the village constable was secretly sent for. Instead of waiting for the constable, Mrs. Hall went to the scientist, who had somehow mysteriously appeared from his empty bedroom. Okay, so Mrs. Hall went to the scientist again into his room, who had somehow mysteriously appeared from his empty room. She's asking him some question. I want to know what you have been doing to my chair upstairs. Okay, what were you doing with my chair upstairs where you stay? She demanded. And I want to know how it is you came out of an empty room and how you entered a locked room. I want to know some answers. So Mrs. Hall is asking Griffin some questions. First of all, you tell me, what were you doing with my chairs upstairs? Second of all, you tell me, okay, how could you come out from an empty room, because we have been there, Mr. Hall and myself, there in the room, you were not there. Suddenly, how come you came out of the empty room? And another question is, how could you enter a locked room? Now let's find out how he responds. The scientist was always quick-tempered. Now he became furious because Griffin did not answer like a normal human being to Mrs. Hall. Okay, very rarely he used to interact with Mrs. Hall, like a normal human being. But because he was always found to be very much short-tempered, ill-tempered, okay. So let's see how he responds now. He responds in this manner: "You don't understand who or what I am," he shouted. "Very well, I'll show you." Now he became furious once again when Mrs. Hall wanted to know the answers of 3 questions that she asked to the invisible man. But instead of answering these questions, he became furious once again, and he reacted in this manner. He said, "You don't understand who or what I am. You don't know who or what I am. I will show you." Okay, this is the answer given by Griffin when Mrs. Hall asked him several questions. Suddenly, he threw up bandages, whiskers, spectacles, and even nose. It took him only a minute to do this. The horrified people in the bar found themselves staring at a headless man. Okay, because her house is attached to the bar. Okay, it's an inn. Okay, therefore, everybody present in the bar was staring at a headless man. Okay, because he threw off all his bandages, whiskers, spectacles. Because the more he removes, the more things he removes from his body, the more invisible he is likely to become. Understood? That is why he even takes off all his clothes and becomes naked, so that his invisibility becomes more and more successful. Okay, he becomes more and more invisible. With more and more clothes and commodity in his body, he becomes less invisible. Therefore, he took off his bandages, he threw off bandages, whiskers, spectacles, and even nose. It took him only a minute to do this. The horrified people in the bar found themselves staring at a headless man. Mr. Jeffers, the constable, the local constable, Mr. Jeffers, was pressed into service to catch the invisible man. Understood? Because he was a local constable, so he was pressed into service by Mrs. Hall and other villagers so as to catch the invisible man. Invisible man came to know about it, so you see what he does now. And was quite surprised to find that he had to arrest a man without a head. Even the constable became surprised to find Griffin without a head. But Jeffers was not easily prevented from doing his duty. Jeffers might have initially hesitated to spring into action when it comes to arresting Griffin. But what happened, when he saw that I have to arrest a person without any head, how is it possible? Initially there was some hesitation in his mind, but Jeffers did not hesitate for a long time. He sprang into his duty of catching the invisible man. If a magistrate's warrant ordered a person's arrest, then the person had to be arrested with or without his head. So it's an order from magistrate. Understood? So Jeffers got an order from the magistrate to arrest Griffin. Therefore, it doesn't matter whether Griffin was having a head or no head. He had to arrest because it's an order from the magistrate. Therefore, immediately Jeffers sprang into action to arrest Griffin. There followed a remarkable scene as the policeman tried to get hold of a man who was becoming more and more invisible as he threw off one garment after another. So dear students, this is what I was speaking about a little while ago. The more clothes he takes off, the more invisible he will become. Therefore, he was throwing one garment after another in order to become completely invisible. So once he becomes completely invisible, it will be very difficult for Jeffords to catch him. Understood? Finally, a shot flew into the air and the constable found himself struggling with someone he could not see at all. Some people tried to help him but found themselves hit by blows that seemed to come from nowhere. Sometimes some fragments of his body, okay, some parts of his body might be visible sometimes, okay. So people try to catch him, but in return they are hit by blows, okay, from Griffin. They are sometimes hit by the blows from Griffin, which seem to come from nowhere because most part of his body is invisible. Sometimes might be some part of his body is visible, so they go there, people go there, Jeffords also go there to catch him, but in return they get nothing but blows and blows from the invisible man. In the end, Jeffords was knocked unconscious as he made a last attempt to hold on to the unseen scientist. In the end, what happened? Jeffords was also knocked down, knocked unconscious, okay, by when he made his last attempt to catch the unseen scientist here, Griffin. Then he was hit so severely by Griffin that he became completely unconscious. There were nervous, excited cries of "hold him," but this was easier said than done. Griffin had shaken himself free and no one knew where to lay hands on him. Understood? There were people all around, they were crying, saying hold him, but this was easier said than done, means it is not so easy. Okay, saying is easy but doing is difficult because Griffin has shaken himself free and no one knew where to catch him because most part of his body is invisible. Only sometimes little part of his body is visible. When people go towards catching him, they are hit by blows from Griffin. Therefore, nobody was successful in eventually catching Griffin. Okay, so this is how Griffin continued his unlawful activities, his violent activities in the village of Iping. Okay, Iping is the village where Griffin escaped from London, because London is a very crowded place where it will be difficult for him to indulge in violent activities. He might be caught, okay, by people because it's very crowded city. That is why he preferred a place which is Iping, which is a village. So he moved to a village where there is plenty of space. He can indulge in a spree of activities, violent activities, and go unnoticed. Okay, that is why he has preferred to shift to a village called Iping, where he took shelter in an inn owned by Mrs. and Mr. Hall. Okay, so this is how the story comes to an end. If you want to know the full story of this of Griffin, you've got to read the complete book of complete novel written by the same writer, H.G. Wells. The name of the book is The Invisible Man. This Invisible Man was there in the syllabus of Standard 12 few years back. Okay, around 3 years back, this complete novel was there in the syllabus of class 12. So You can download it, it's available free of cost also as ebook. You can download the ebook and read on your computer or on your tablet or on your mobile. This is a very interesting story, and this story of Griffin that we have just studied is an extract from the original novel written by H.G. Wells. Understood? So you can also see the movie which is available on YouTube. You have to type The Invisible Man by H.G. Wells, then you will find short movies of 20-minute duration, 30 minutes duration. Okay, there are several movies by the same name is available, so you can also watch the movie Invisible Man to be able to understand what it does and how easy eventually how he brings about his own destruction. Okay, eventually he is caught and he brings about his own destruction. Okay, because the story of the story of Griffin is an example of how science can be a bad master. Okay, how technology, how science can be a bad master. Okay, because with the help of the discovery of advanced drugs and all that, Griffin was able to render himself, of course, invisible. But what kind of, he did not do anything good for the humanity. Okay, so if science has given us some gift, we have to make good use of the gift and do some good work for the society. Okay, but Griffin misused the gift of science. Okay, he is a scientist, he should have done good for the humanity, he should have done good for the society, but instead of doing good for the society, he has indulged in a spree of violent activities, thereby causing damage to human lives and property. Therefore, from the story of Griffin, we come to know that the bad effect of science, okay, the bad misuse of science. Okay, so this is what you have to learn. Science has given us a wonderful gift in the form of latest invention. Okay, science has made our life very much comfortable, science has made our life very much luxurious. Okay, very much comfortable, but we have to ensure that we make the best use of it. Okay, not like Griffin, okay, who has made the bad use of science. Understood? So we should not be involved in the destructive effects. Okay, we should always aspire to make the best use of the gift that science has provided us and do something good for the cause of our society, for the cause of humanity. Okay, not like the way Griffin indulged in making all bad use of the gift of science. Okay, so this is how the story of Griffin, Footprints Without Feet, comes to an end. Okay, let me check out the time. If there is time enough, I'll discuss something more. I have some time left. Okay, I have some time left. So let me just quickly recapitulate. Okay, let me just quickly recapitulate.